What's up, my people? In this video, we're going to talk about solving one-step equations. And we're going to also jump into solving one-step inequalities. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out, let's talk about a few things. There's a word in math that means opposite. And that word is inverse. So whenever you hear me use the word inverse, I'm simply talking about doing the opposite. So the inverse of addition is subtraction, and the inverse of subtraction is addition. The inverse of multiplication is division, and the inverse of division is multiplication. We're going to be utilizing that a lot today. Okay, so let's go back up here to these one-step equations. All right, so we got this first one. Now, draw a line down the equal sign, and this helps a lot. So with this side, and also write these words, write the word see and write the word do. And what you have to check out is on this side with the equal sign, you need to identify what is it that you see attached to the variable. And what I mean by that, you see how here's the m, right next to it is a minus 10. So that's what I see. I see a minus 10. Which means I need to do the inverse. So the inverse of minus 10 is a plus 10. Okay, now that I've taken care of that, I need to actually do what I said I need to do. Make sense? So let's add 10 to both sides. And I have to do it to both sides to make sure it's balanced, to make sure it's fair. And negative 17 plus 10, remember, the signs are different, so I need to subtract the two. So 17 take away 10 is 7. But 17 is the larger number, so the integer negative comes with that. So m equals negative 7. Okay? Let's do number 2. Now, anytime you see a fraction bar like this one, that means divide or divided by. Okay, that's what that line means. So what do I see? Let's write that down. What do I see? And which is going to tell me what I need to do. What do you see? I see it divided by 9. And remember, almost forgot. Okay, because we have to do this side with the variable on it. So since I see it divided by 9, that means I need to do the inverse of divided by 9. And that inverse is times 9. That means I need to multiply both sides by 9. 9 here, 9 here. And what happens is when you multiply both sides by 9, they end up canceling each other out because the multiplication of 9 and the divided by 9 are inverses. All right, so 9 times negative 2 is negative 18 equals n. So in other words, n equals negative 18. Okay, and if you actually take this in, let's erase this real quick. If you take this in right here and you plug it back in right here, so instead of putting n right there, you put negative 18. You'll notice that your answer is right because negative 18 divided by a positive 9. Remember, if the signs are different, it's going to be a negative. And if the sign, now I got to do 18 divided by 9 and you get negative 2. That's how you check and see if your work is correct. Okay. And if you notice on both of these, I wrote the variable on the left. That makes it easier. That's the more standard way to write it. If you get into the habit of writing with the variable on the left, it's going to definitely make your life a little bit easier. Actually, a lot easier. Okay. So let's do this one. Now, when there's a number directly next to a variable, what could that possibly mean? It is multiplication. So what I see right here, I see a times, but it's negative 13. This negative right here does not mean minus. It's minus if there was something in the front or if there was an additional number like +5 or something. But because it's the only thing on the right, that means multiplication, okay? So if I see times negative 13, I need to do divided by negative 13. So let's do that. Divide by negative 13. Divide by negative 13. Well, there's a positive 39 and a negative 13. Those signs are different. So my answer is going to be negative. Now 39 divided by 13 happens to be 3. Okay? And let's do the final one over here before we jump down to inequalities. I see a negative 19 plus x is equal to negative 3. Okay, so I have this negative 19 plus x. So what do we see? What do we do? So over here with the x, I see this negative 19. Right? That's what we see. So let's write that down. I see negative 19. And another word for negative 19 is also minus 19. Remember, the word negative and minus are interchangeable. They mean the same thing. So if I see a negative 19 or minus 19, the inverse would be positive 19 or add 19. So I'm going to add 19 to both sides. X equals 19. I have negative 3 plus 19. Well, the signs are different. So I'm going to subtract the two. 19 minus 3 is 16. But since the 19 is bigger, my sign is positive. I don't necessarily have to write the positive, but I can. Okay? All right. Now let's talk about inequalities. So it's the same process, the same see and do process, except for there's a couple of different rules I got to add to this now. So if you don't have this chart written down already, write this chart down. This is the same chart I wrote in class. I have this chart like so, and in this box, okay, now let's go ahead and jump right into the good stuff. This line right here is the less than sign. So this whole section right here is all less than. Okay? If that's the case, and if you're never sure, if you look at it like, if you look this like this a little bit sideways, that looks like a capital L, aka less than. Which means the other one, by default, is greater than. Okay? Now, this line here is the or equal to. So, the box right here means less than or equal to. Or this one is just greater than, okay? So that's that. Now, these boxes and symbols actually make a difference. So when you just have just a less than, that's an open circle. That is an open circle. And if you have the equal to sign, that is a closed circle. And what that means is if it's an open circle, that means that the number is not included, but if you have a closed circle, the number is included. For example, if you have exactly $5 in your wallet, and I'm like, how much do you have? And you say $5 on a number line, That would be a closed circle because you have exactly $5. But let's say you have $4.99. It might be easier for you to say 5, but it's really an open circle because you don't have exactly 5 and you're really, really close. So that's what the open circle means. It's not exactly that number, okay? So take a minute, pause the video and write this down. And we're going to tackle some of the questions up above. All right? Okay, now that you've had time to pause the video, let's look at this. Oh, before I do that, I almost forgot. Now, when you have your inequality symbols, it's best if you have your variable. It's not always going to be X. You want your symbol in the middle and your number on the right. Because if you have it like that, let's say you had the M is less than 5 or whatever, right? What's going to happen is the symbol is going to tell you which way to shade if it's in this order. So in other words, in this case, we would end up shading left. If it was K is greater than 7, because this looks like that, that's going to be an arrow. We're going to end up shading to the right. Okay, so let's look at our problems now. All right, so I'm going to start off with my C do. And again, this is going to act just like an equal sign. And what do I see? I'm going to write it down here so I can show my work. I see a times 6, which means I need to divide by 6. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. Sorry, both sides by 6. P is less than 54, negative 54 divided by 6. Well, the signs are different, so my answer is going to be negative. 54 divided by 6 is, what is it? It's 9. So this says P is less than negative 9. So what that means is if I put P, now if I make an arrow like this, it means I'm going to shade to the left. Now, when I get to negative 9, I have to put a circle, but the circle is going to be open because there's no equal to sign right here. That's missing. So open circle, and if I did my arrow correctly and my P is on the left, I'm going to shade to the left. Okay? All right, let's look at the next one. Actually, we'll come back to number 6 because number 6 has a different rule that I need to make sure I cover again. All right. What do I see here? I see divided by 9. What does that mean I need to do? I need to multiply by 9 on both sides. 9, 9. Remember that cancels. So that's going to leave me with M is greater than or equal to whatever 9 times 5 is. And 9 times 5 is 45. Now, because the line is under here this time, that is going to be a closed circle on 45. And because is it in the correct format? Variable, symbol, number? Yes. So that means I should be shading this way. Okay? And what that really means, the shading area means no matter what number I put in there, it's going to be less than 5, right? So let's say I choose, and this is just off the, let's say I choose 40, right? If I put 40 where M is, and I divide it by 9, What's 40 divided by 9? Actually, let's not use 40. Let's use 36. That'll work. Let's use 36. 36 will make our life easier because 36 is right around here. And 36 would be in the shaded area. 36 divided by 9 is less than or equal to 5. Is that true? 36 divided by 9 is 4. 4 is less than or equal to 5. This is true. If you shade the wrong way, it'll be false. Like, for example, the number 81 on a number line is way down this way, right? If I use 81 right here, if I used 81, what is 81 divided by 9? 81 divided by 9, 9 times 9 is 81. So that would make this right here 9. And this would say 9 is less than or equal to 5. 9 is not less than 5. This is false. So if you plug it in and it's false, you always shade towards the true and always reject the false. Let's try again on this. Let's try this other one over here. See, do. Okay, remember, actually, I'll just write it, negative 38. Okay. Now, the first thing I notice is that my P is on the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the problem off by flipping it. So I'm going to put the P minus 18 on the left. I'm going to put the negative 38 on the right. And because it faced the opening of the inequality sign faced the P minus 18, it has to follow that same thing when we do it this way. It has to just flip. Everything flips. Now what do I see? I see a minus 18, which means what do I need to do? I need to add 18. So I'm going to add 18 to both sides. P is greater than or equal to. The signs are different. So I'm going to have to subtract the 2. And 31 minus 18, what is it? It should be 13. And because the signs are different, I have to choose the sign of the larger number, negative 13. And because this right here, the line is under it, that means it's a closed circle. Is that where negative 13 is at? No. What happens is when you guys go fast, you'll see negative 14. Now look at my dot. Does it make sense that 13 is between 14 and 16? No. So if you look at your answers and that you see that, make that adjustment. So now let's go. 13 makes sense to go between 12 and 14. There we go. And this says I need to shade which direction? Oh, let's do this. Make an arrow. So I need to shade to the right. Okay. One more final answer. One more final rule. When multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you must flip the inequality symbol. Okay? When you're multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you must flip the inequality symbol. And I saved that because look at what we have here. So I have this negative 4a. Actually, let's start with my c and do. Now I see a times negative 4. So I see a times negative 4, which means my do is going to be divided by negative 4. Uh-oh. So let's see. I have negative 4a is greater than negative 4. I need to divide both sides by negative 4. And because I divided by a negative, now the sign is going to go that way. It's going to, now negative 4 divided by negative 4, signs are the same. So I'm going to end up with a positive, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So I'm going to have an open circle on the 1, but I'm going to shade the opposite direction now because I divided by the negative. It's going to go this way. Okay. All right. So that concludes the one-step equations and one-step inequalities video. Don't forget to take a look at your notes. If you have any questions, see me in class. If you need to, rewind this video and watch it again. Slow it down, pause it, take your notes. All right. You have a good day, and I'll see you soon.